Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. I'm Sean Kimalo in Abuja, the nation's capital. The past week was very eventful, and the eyes of the nation was on the National Assembly over two very crucial bills: the amendment to the Electoral Act and the Petroleum Industry Bill, which the National Assembly planned to pass before they embark on recess. But there are plenty of drama. Beginning on Thursday, lawmakers disagreed, and some of them were an obvious fisticuffs. Take a look at what is happening, what happened on the floor of the Senate, first and foremost, where senators disagreed, and you can see obvious disagreements between them. Now termed as a conditional framing of the Clause 52 over the transmission of election result. These areas brought some of the disagreement, and on the floor of the House also, take a look at what happened near fisticuffs for some of the members of the House.
To move that the report of the Committee of the Whole as reported be adopted.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move for the adoption of the consideration of reports. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Well, those are some of the proceedings and some of the pictures of what happened on both chambers on Thursday. After that Thursday proceeding, the Senate had passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill with disagreement. Those some of the lawmakers disagreed on especially the Clause 52 in the Act, which talked about electronic transmission of result and electronic voting. After their sitting on that day, spoke with some of the senators, and they have very different opinions on what happened and transpired on the floor. I'll allow you to take a listen to it again.
It is clear all this is about 2023. Certain people want to win election at all costs, whether people voted for them or they did not vote for them.
An amendment was proposed by Senator Sabi Abdullahi that says that due to the lack of enough connectivities across the length and breadth of this country, that there is need for us to engage the NCC to work in conjunction with INEC so that they can give us the level of coverage, and from there take a decision which they will report back to the National Assembly for a eventual decision to be taken on electronic transmission of voting, which I believe it is right, knowing that we don't want any part of this country to be disenfranchised from voting and their voting being counted.
Well, I don't think that this is what Nigerians want. Nigerians have told us clearly what they want. They want electronic transmission of voters without any let or hindrance. But what happened on the floor was that some members now introduced something that is against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria by making an independent body, INEC, to now be subject to direction by NCC. And all they said was, we don't have enough coverage and so forth. And therefore, before INEC will implement, it has to go to NCC. And we felt that that is wrong. Number one, INEC is independent. And the Constitution is very clear on that. If there's any law that we make that is contrary to the Constitution, then that law cannot stand.
I don't believe that all Nigerians will not support this bill. It's passed today. because a lot of areas do not have coverage. Even if you are driving on the road, you find there's a place where you are talking and the network goes off.
We are not saying that electronic voting or transmission is not good, but we are saying that it is not the time. So why would you even contemplate on using it when you know that only 46 or 43% of Nigerians is confirmed by NCC have network coverage?
Some of your colleagues are alleging that the reasons why some of your colleagues put this bill in this form is to rig election in 2023.
Oh my God. When they speak about that, I talk to them, and I really have to say it here. We conducted 6 elections. Only 2 were conducted APC. You remember, Shehu, at one time under PDP in a state, they recorded more votes than the registered voters. Nigerians didn't go down. We went to court. We lost 4 times. We went to court. So it's not. These are people that have rigged before, are accusing us that they say in anticipation that we are going to rig. Which one will you listen to? Let's be honest.
There's much more I'm going to be telling you tonight. Meanwhile, the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, has been defending the reasons for the conditional transmission of results, which was the way Amana was framed in the Clause 52. In a statement released by the Office of the Senate President today, he said, and I quote, "We know the evils of not transmitting results electronically, but compare the evils of electronically transmitting just half of the electoral votes from Nigerians and say you have elected president with 50% only, and others have voted but their results or their votes could not be electronically transmitted. This is disenfranchising Nigerians, and we are not going to support this kind of thing because essentially we're supposed to be fair to every part of Nigeria, and when we voted, every part of Nigeria voted for and against the amendment." End of quote. That is the Senate President Ahmed Lawan defending the position of the Senate and how some of the senators voted. Well, you want to know because every state of the Federation has 3 senators. The FCT has 1. So we have altogether 109 senators. It's interesting because the minority leader wanted the Senate to make an open show of how they voted, and when they divided the Senate, they voted. And do you want to know how your senators voted in your state? Let me show you how the senators voted. Standing of those who voted in support of the conditional transmission of the election results. This you can see from on your screen how they voted. And just take a look at carefully. Majority of those who voted in this regard are senators of the APC, from the DSP to the senator from Delta State who just moved from the PDP to the APC, Peter Nwoboshi, to the senator Ali Ndume Okpayami Bamdele from Ekiti, Abdullahi Gobri, Danjuma Goje, Yusuf, Ibrahim Mohammed, and the list goes on, and most of them are APC senators. Let's flip the page now, and let's show you those who voted against. It's been interesting to see that leading that list is the minority leader of those who voted against, which is Senator Eyinaya Abaribe and his colleagues, Francis Fadahunsi from PDP Osun, Clifford Odia, PDP Edo, Matthew Oride, PDP Edo, George Sakibo, PDP Rivers, Biodun Olujimi, PDP Ekiti, Senator Barinada, PDP Rivers, Betty Apiafi, PDP Rivers, on and on and like. But there are about 29 senators who were absent. You also see, and they're asking questions. If your senator is one of those who are absent, you probably be asking questions. Where were they when this very interesting process in our political history was happening? These are the senators that were absent. Where were they? Where did they go? What happened when they were voting? They were absent when the voting happened. I showed you what happened on the floor of the House on Thursday. But on Friday, in the House, the passage, some would say, is perhaps more mild compared to the version of the Senate. But the debate on Friday got so heated that that lawmakers, mostly of the opposition, staged a walkout. Take a listen to the minority leader who led the walkout and the majority leader who was defending the position of his other lawmakers. Take a listen to what transpired to the stage, to the walkout, and then what the minority lawmakers said.
So I'm calling on my colleagues that if that is the case, that they have carried it and waiting for us to do a rescission, because it was never carried. So the issue of rescission
no, sir.
will not even arise. I will advise that we leave the chamber. We are not part of it.
Well, if you are saying you are not part of it, it's a different entirely. You are entitled to our opinion, and that's the meaning of democracy. Thank you very much. We are grateful. Don't title. No, amendment of the. Already, what's the point of order, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman, leader.
First of all, they deprived INEC from coming, and they claimed that INEC should not come because it will be seen that INEC is taking a position. But the same INEC came at the public hearing and attested to the fact that they can work with electronically transmitting results. That same clause 52, that even Speaker himself, upon commencement, announced that we should suspend it and go to other clauses. The Deputy Speaker, who has shown that he's not democratic, he's not a Democrat, decided to ignore that, decided to ignore the whole House, and went ahead to start counting from clause 54 against what we had agreed.
For me, clause 52, just like the chair of the committee of the whole insisted, as leader of the 9th House of Representatives, I want to put it to you that we procedurally took section 52. It was carried, and we have no cause whatsoever going back to it except through rescission, which was not properly moved
Does
for.
that rule the Speaker out of order yesterday when he said that consideration will resume from clause 52?
What you need to know is that the Speaker is one thing, and the House of Representatives is another one.
I'm building this premise because of some of these critical areas. I know some of our viewers on Sunday Politics are those who had not seen and be able to watch the program all through the week, but they're expected to see the major stories being discussed on this program. So that's the reason why I'm giving you some of this background, so you get a sense of what happened. Well, now you have it on the Electoral Amendment Bill, which we will talk about in a moment. Another bill which was passed and lawmakers disagreed also was the Petroleum Industry Bill. The House of Representatives suspended the consideration of the Petroleum Industry Bill, which was harmonized by both chambers of the National Assembly. Both chambers last week had passed the bill with different figures allocated to host communities as operational cost. Amid a rowdy session, some lawmakers in the Green Chamber insisted on the 5%, which the House initially passed, as against 3% agreed upon by the conference committee. The PIB report was, however, considered and approved in the Senate despite opposition from Niger Delta senators. Let's look at some of the implications of these views and the Nigeria politics in the last few days. Let's talk about these, and I'm being joined by the governor of Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule. He joins us from Lafia, the capital of Nasarawa. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight. Let's begin the conversation from the PIB. There is a disagreement between the lawmakers, and a critical question or critical part of the conversation is the allocation to the host communities. Some of the House largely was deciding on 5%. The Senate had passed 3%. Would you say it's fair and equitable to pass 3% for the host communities, considering the present situation in the country and the agitation that we're seeing from lawmakers from the Niger Delta or from the southern region of the country?
Thank you very much, Sheun. Unfortunately for us, in fact, I made a presentation today at the retreat of the members of the House of Reps, on this same issue. because of my chairmanship of the Northern Governors Forum Committee on PIB, and because of my background as an oil and gas engineer, I was asked specifically to come and make a presentation to them. And I try as much as possible to explain to them that this particular issue of the percentages, as well as the frontier and the 30%, 3%, or whatever it is, they are national issues. They are not regional issues. But because, you know, people have already brainwashed us to make us believe either they are political party issues or they are regional issues, then we hold on very, very strongly to that. That is really a very, very unfortunate situation because of the level of understanding of some of our politicians, you know, when it comes to these particular issues. Now, coming back to answer your question about the 3% or the 30% or whatever percentage that will be given, you have to look at the totality of what goes to the communities. Is it just the 3% that is going to communities? People have forgotten about the 13% derivation that goes to the states. People have forgotten about NDDC that actually is there, also established. Some percentages also go there for the development of the Niger Delta communities. So if you give the 5% or 10% or this, what happened? You know, is it changing the community or is it going to some other individuals? So for me, I don't look at it from that angle, you know, but politicians that have very little understanding of the entire structure are the ones who are worried about what percentage actually goes there. So really, I care less about whether it is 3% or 5% or this. The most important is that let us go and take a look at what is happening in the Niger Delta communities. And is the 13% derivation that is going to the communities, is it helping them? Is the NDDC actually, are we not hearing all the corruption and everything going on in the NDDC? If you even take the 5% or the 3%, are we going to implement it properly? So I think those are the questions that we as Nigerians, we should need to be worried about rather than percentages of this and this and that. You know, so for me, Sheun, that's the way I approach it. That's why I say it's a very sad moment. I took so much time, you know, to go ahead and share from my experience of living in the US about how communities are developed, how this is done, and this is a national issue, this and that. And unfortunately, we go back to the floor of the House of Reps, you know, and continue again on the line of regional issue. You know, it's this issue 3%, it is 5%, it is 2%. You know, it's very laughable. That's the way I see it, and it's very saddening that we are still at that level.
I mean, it does look like the communities or the region is very particular about this matter. It doesn't then make it only a technical matter, it makes it now a political matter. We've seen some kind of peace in the region. Is it not commonsensical and political to also shift grounds for the peace in that region, politically speaking now, that lawmakers should now consider that 5% so that we can have the kind of peace that we're seeing in that region to extend or to keep on?
Well, right now it is 0%. Okay? It has not started. Is there no peace in the region? You know, I think sometimes people just make it too political. Right now it's 0. Okay? On that profit aspect of it. I have been part of the OGIC in 2005. It is OGIC that actually graduated to PIB bill. You know, when we finished the Vision 2020 in the year 2009 when we started, Funshi Kupulokun was our chairman of the Energy Committee. And that's how we started putting this together. In 2005, we recommended the unbundling of the NMPC that led into this. So is it the percentage? Today is 0. Is there no peace there? So I'm telling you, Sheun, it's not about percentage. Even if you give them 5%, is that the end of the crisis in the Niger Delta? Of course not. So it is not percentage. I'm telling you, it's deeper than that. Just like with all the other issues that are there, you will see, they will tell you that it is not about that particular issue, it is about 2023. You know, so let's look at the background issues, not just the question of 5%. Unfortunately, even some of our northern legislators who probably do not understand this properly are going either on a party line or a regional line. You know, and that is the saddening part. But it is not. You know, it's a national issue that we are facing here. Niger Delta today is being neglected. Even with the NDDC in place, what are we seeing there? We are seeing a lot of pollution. we are seeing a lot of spillages that are not being taken care of. A lot of the communities where some of these oil operations are going on, we do some wash, divide and rule kind of treatment. These are the challenges that we are facing. So it's not about 3%. For me, really, I don't mind they give them 10% or 20%, or even 1%. Is a percentage going to bring out the peace? Of course not.
Some of your colleagues, the governors of the southern region, they met and they had a stand. And they said it's 5% that will be fair and equitable. From that point of view, would you agree with your southern governors' colleagues?
No, I don't agree with them, because for me to agree with any southern governor, you see, for instance, the governor of Rivers, Wike, is actually PDP. He belongs to a different political party with me. But every time I see him going to one project or the other, I commend him. He is from the PDP. The governor of Delta, is also PDP. And every time I see him going one thing or the other, trying to develop the communities, bring them out on this and that, I commend him. So my own is not about party line. But the issue is that you have a governor that probably has done nothing. We have some governors in the Niger Delta, that have continuously, before I even came to become a governor, continuously stealing the money and going to one kind of prison or the other, this and that. And this is the kind of person that you want me to say, yes, he's saying 5%, let me take 5%. That's my position.
Question here, Governor, is it that you don't think that the Niger Delta deserve the 5%? I mean, the host community deserve the 5%, or you think that if it goes there, it might go into wrong ends, it might be siphoned?
No. What I'm saying is, go and ask those who say 5%. What is so sacrosanct about 5%? Why not 10%? Why not 7%? Why not 3%? What brought about the 5%? Majority of them don't even know where you have. It is 5% of net profit. How about if there is no profit? So some of these people, I'm saying, they are arguing, they don't even know the subject that they are arguing. Is there a time where there will be no net profit? Because this is about net profit. So why don't you look at 5% of production or 2% of production? Why are we saying 5%? So my argument, Sherwin, is about some of the people arguing this. They are doing it either based on regional thing or based on political party affiliation. They are not looking at the real subject, the technicalities of the subject. They don't even understand it. Why 5%? Why are we making 5%? And why are the northern governors saying 3%? What's the difference? How much is 5%? Or how much is the 3%? Majority of them have no idea. So for me that have this understanding, I can't follow this kind of jamboree and say, yeah, it's 5%. Therefore, the governors are saying that, it's 3%. A lot of them, the work has been done and passed. With due respect, Sharon, if I ask you, how much is 5%? We have no figure. It's 5% of net profit. How much was our net profit in the year 2020? How much was our net profit in 2019? So what is 3% of that? Is that amount of money sufficient to develop some of these communities? Yes. Maybe even 1%. And there are times where 10% is not even sufficient. That is the issue. That's what I'm telling you. It's a national issue. That's the direction I'm taking the argument. I'm not taking the argument based on this jamboree is 5% or 3%. So when I went to make my presentation, to the governors during their retreat, I took them away from this mentality. I say, understand the subject first. Let us go ahead and do that. Not because everybody is voting 3%, you vote 3%. No, study it. Understand what it's all about. That's my position, Ashel.
That's the debate in the House deadlocked, and some of they couldn't agree. Some of the lawmakers couldn't agree. But with what we have right now, do you think that the hopes of a lot of people thinking that this PIB will help develop the sector and help give a proper administration of the sector, will that hope come alive?
Yes, the way we recommended it is going to help. Let me tell you another area of controversy. We recommended 30% and they have passed it. Anyway, these 3% we're just debating, you and I, because they have already passed. Okay? So the 30% also of net profit, they have passed that. Now, that's another huge area of debate. And they are saying it is to develop the frontier. And a lot of people believe frontier is only the Benue Trough, the Chad Basin, the Sokoto Basin, This is frontier. That's what I'm telling you about, again, misunderstanding. If you go to the deep water, anything more than maybe 4,000, 5,000 meters of water, where Brazil is operating at the moment, is actually frontier. In Nigeria, when we were doing a lot of the onshore operations and maybe shallow water operations, nobody knew we had anything, in even the deep water, until Famfa and Texaco, discovered Agbani, where there was about 1 billion barrels of oil there. Then Snepco, which is owned by Shell, discovered another 1 billion barrels in a place called Bonga. Then Erha came up. Then, so all these big water blocks started coming in. So today, we have not gone deeper than that because it is frontier. The definition of frontier is where the IOCs, that's the International Oil Company, the Shell, the Mobil, the Total, the Texaco, the rest of them are not interested in going because they are going to carry out exploration and it is too much cost for them. So they don't want to do that. So for that reason, we define that who is going to go there? Only government. So we are saying we are looking for the resources for that so that we can make it attractive enough for some of these companies to go. And somebody is saying, no, we don't want to do that. Nobody is taking the money to a particular place. No, they are saying make the provision for the money so that when you do that, so a lot of people have already been brainwashed that frontier is Buhari, who is a president right now, and is only interested in that 30%, so he can go and develop the Chad Basin or the Benue Trough. And this Benue Trough, by the way, begins from Calabar. Is Calabar not in the Niger Delta? So a lot of them don't even know that. Benin Basin is also frontier. Anambra Basin, most of it is frontier. Are these not in the south? So that's why I'm telling you, sometimes I feel saddened that most of our people really don't understand the argument. Somebody is just saying that, no, it's a northern pattern, it's a southern thing. Oh, it's Buhari that is promoting the north, oh, it's this. And then somebody will jump into the argument and support that. This is what is happening. And that's why sometimes they require people who have little understanding of it to come and brief them. And if they do that, people go to the floor or they go to the TV stations or go to newspapers or this, and then boom, they go back into arguments. So this is the problem. It's not because Niger Delta doesn't deserve. Niger Delta communities deserve better than they are getting now. They deserve better than what they are getting from NDDC. They deserve better than what they are getting from 13% derivation. For some of us who work in the Niger Delta, if you go to certain communities, their water has been polluted. They can't even drill a borehole, to this. So even for the fear of God, wouldn't you take care of those kind of people? And so that is the issue. That's the basic thing. But some of the people pushing these arguments are people that are reason. Yes,
let's take a break. I have one last question for you, and it's going to be about the amendment to the Electoral Act, which your party, which is a majority in the National Assembly, some opposition lawmakers said they have bullied them into what they want and how they wanted it. And I'll get your view after this break. Join us again, everyone. Thank you so much. Our concluding moments with Governor Abdullahi Sule, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your time. Well, if you see what happened on the floor, which we laid some premise earlier on, your party, the APC, holds the majority seats in the National Assembly. But the minority seems to feel that they have been politically oppressed based on the amendment to the Electoral Act, especially in the Senate, as to how they amended, for example, the Clause 52 of the Electoral Act. Let me get your view on this one, because the allegation is that there is a grand plan of rigging for 2023. Your party, the APC, holds the majority seats in the National Assembly, especially in the Senate, and perhaps some of the minority lawmakers feel politically oppressed by the happenings of last week, where some of them could not have their say and not have their way. Now, in that sense, the allegations some of them are raising is that there is a grand plan to rig the election come 2023. Let me get your view on that.
Yeah, I think you said you mentioned two things. You know, some of them couldn't either have their say or have their way. I think it's more with the second. Either have their way is probably the reason why they walk out. For some of us that live in advanced democracies, I have seen a lot of walkout in the U.S. Congress anytime they didn't have their way, and it is normal. So if people walk out because they don't have their way, it's also in line with democracy, even in advanced democracies. You know, I was in the U.S. many times when we were having problems, you know, about Bill Clinton. You know, people were trying to impeach him, and then when they were not getting their way, of course, the Democrats walk out. So walking out is normal in situations like this. And today they walk out because they strongly believe that the northern legislators, you know, were getting ready to rig the elections. That's why I told you. So the bottom line is 2023. So they are getting ready to rig elections in 2023. That's the reason why they do that. If you ask the northern legislators, why are you doing that? They say, well, they invited somebody from NCC, and NCC told them that we don't have network. Now, coming back to our own, that we are outside the National Assembly, you know, is it true that Nigeria does not have proper network? It is true. Anybody who wants to be very honest with his or herself will tell you that yes. It depends. For some of us who travel by road many times, if I'm traveling between Abuja and Kaduna, many times, you know, there are so many villages or so many spots where there is no network. So it is possible about de-enfranchising some other villages, you know, when it comes to this. So it's the same thing. When I'm traveling from here, you know, going all the way to Bidda or something like that, we have this kind of problem. Maybe it's more in the north than in the south. But unfortunately, again, just like the PIB bill, there is a lot of misunderstanding that it is the northerners who want to rig. Rigging in Nigeria and about population in the north, it started not now. It started during the era of Sardauna of Sokoto and the rest of that, when somebody said they were counting their goats and sheep and things like that, if you remember. So it is not news anymore. It is actually a reality. It has been going on. Now, people say there was proper election, you know, in 2015, people believe in that election. So in 2019, there was a resemblance of that. So why are we so afraid of 2023? You know, it is all because of the presidential thing, that who is going to be president. For me, I have said it to you, Sule, many times, that believe me honestly, for fairness, I have no problem about having a problem from the South. We have had problems from the South in the past. We have had Obasanjo, we had Jonathan, and so if we have another one, so be it. You know, I don't have any fear inside me for a president from the South. So the problem we are facing is about the people who are trying to be president, who believe, you know, they have to bamboozle their way to do that, and you can't do that. Because politics is about being able, you know, to talk to people, understand what is happening, lobby people, get it done. You know, you can't do it by force. So that's the way I see it. So it has nothing to do with anything, whether there is network. Everyone knows that network issue, it is an issue in Nigeria. Even in some major cities, sometimes you call, they say there is no network. So if there is not, what happens on the day of election if there is no network? So those places cannot be counted, or they cannot transmit. I think these are the issues on the table. So I think sometimes we just have to wake up and be able to tell each other the truth and face it and forget about all these sentiments, whether it is southern thing or northern thing and things like that. That's the way I see it, Sule.
Sincerely, thank you, Your Excellency. Governor of Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule, thank you so much for your thought tonight.
Thank you so much.
Let's get some opposition views now on some of these issues. I'm being joined by the national chairman of the Young Democratic Party, YPP.
Young Progressive
Party. Mr. Bishop Amakere, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
I know you are not happy with what happened, especially because you have a senator in the National Assembly. What happened? What's your grievance about the passage of the Electoral Act Amendment?
Well, Sean, first let me say it's a shame to all of us, including myself, politicians. And but that's not to say that it's irredeemable. No, the future is really bright. You know, once we can get progressive minds on board. What really happened, actually what played out in the last plenary, I would say it's a manifestation of what they call majority, who always have their way and the minority will have their say. And I think that critical issues like this, that borders national issue, I think at some point, politicians should understand that we must jettison our parochial interests and bring forth national interests before us. I've had several, deliberations and maybe opinions as regards to this particular matter. I just heard the governor of Nasarawa State also talking about whether the spread of network in Nigeria actually is not that effective. And you continue to ask yourself questions. How comes are we in this digital world where, even in Nigeria itself, we go to your communities, you can use your ATM to take money. And this thing that he has, he also confirmed that it's all about 2023 election. Some people feel or think that the only game they know about winning election is rigging an election.
So you think those who voted against electronic voting wants to rig?
The frontline antagonist of this particular bill, that clause, that the one of transmission of practically are those people who actually know that if you go to the field, number one, they don't have the social capital. They had continued to win election on the basis of the business as usual syndrome, where they go rig election, pay people to take ballot boxes and all whatnot. And that's why they are afraid. And I see no reason why we will continue to be in our country political casualties just because we have problem, of leadership recruitment process. And this is the real problem we have today in Nigeria. If we are not going to solve this problem, then there's no need for us to be coming back here or back and forth discussing about some of these things. In the first instance, why will they throw us into this process of spending our money, going through this process? That was public hearings. What they are telling us is, no matter anything, the public, the Nigerian, the Nigerian public, no matter anything they say, to hell with what
the senator. The YPP has one senator. That's Senator Ifeanyi Uba.
Yes.
Can you give us an understanding? It was being listed as absent when the vote happened.
You saw what happened in the plenary when he rised up for an observation, and the president, Senate President, shut him down to tell him that no, he cannot give him that opportunity. Already, this discussion, I personally have been in touch with the senator, and I told him our stand. Before even that plenary, about last year, we staged a protest to National Assembly on electoral reform. And these are some of the issues that we itemized in our letter. We mentioned in our letter that we submitted to, the National Assembly. And the senator himself is aware that the position of the Young Progressives Party is nothing but to have something new, so that Nigerians will have hope that we are going to a new direction. But when the senator, stood up to talk, they shut him down because he's the only man in the Senate. And the Senate President felt he has to use his powers, for not allowing him to
Are you
speak.
protesting that in any way?
Let me tell you one thing, Sean. The beauty about this is, I thank God I am a Nigerian, and I'm proud to say this anywhere, any day, anytime. Even if you get me, if on gunpoint, I will always claim to be a Nigerian. The consequences of what is happening today in the National Assembly, I think most of them don't understand that. There are people like us, people like me, seated here. If my life will be taken, or I will go to jail on this particular subject matter, I am prepared for that. Because I don't think I am ready to explain to my younger generations or my children that I was alive during when some of this shenanigan was taking place, and I did not contribute my quota. The essence of us coming on board to participate in politics is to see how we can do something new, something different. And these people continue, to shut the mouths of people simply because they tell you they are majority. What do you mean by majority? Majority, okay, then no problem. They have had their way, like they said in the parliament. But let me tell you that the people who employ them, who took them where they are today, because no senator or House of Rep member
you only have one vote to vote for yourself. And I don't think one vote for yourself will take you to where you are. It is the people that will take you there. I am very, very sure, Seun, that there are Nigerians who are going to act on this particular matter.
Okay.
And I am not saying that they are going to, protests must not be with guns, okay? There are kind of protests that go, naturally.
But you're ready to push this to the very maximum extent?
Anything within the ambits of the law, we will continue to push this matter.
All right.
Because what we want for our country is to ensure that we have an egalitarian society where all citizens will actually be their chance to say, I am a citizen of Nigeria.
All right.
And one thing I think the parliamentarians are forgetting, the parliament stands to be the citadel of every democratic, nation. And if we're practicing democracy, I do not see the reason why we will not actually buy into new ideas. When the INEC chairman has confirmed that they can carry out elections, they can transmit this result.
Mr. Amakri, I must sincerely thank you. But let's listen to INEC now. Mr. Festus Okoye was on Channels Television. Festus Okoye is a national commissioner with INEC, and this is what he has to say when he was asked about electronic transmission of results. Take a listen to the INEC man.
Our position has been clear, our position has been consistent, and that is that this particular commission is irrevocably committed to deepening the use of technology in the electoral process, and that we want broad powers to enable us deploy relevant technology in the electoral process. As we are aware, this particular commission has been test running different technological solutions in the electoral process for quite some time. And if you also look at some of the elections we have organized since 2020, you can see that we have uploaded the results of 22 elections, including state assembly elections, House of Representatives elections, senatorial elections, and governorship elections into our central portal, where the public had an opportunity of viewing them. Now, these elections that we have uploaded course across all the 6 geopolitical zones. So we have uploaded results from very remote areas, even from areas where you have to use human carriers to access. We have uploaded results from those areas. So we have made our own position very, very clear that we have the capacity and we have the will to deepen the use of technology in the electoral process. But as I say, our powers are given by the Constitution and the law, and will continue to remain within the ambit and confines of the powers granted to the Commission by the Constitution and by the law.
I'm now being joined on the program by a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, a former presidential candidate in 2019, and a lawyer, Professor Kingsley Mohalu. He joins us from Lagos. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you, Sharon.
Get your view straight away. Some who have criticized this position, as a lawyer, do you see any constitutional contradiction in what the Senate, for example, passed?
Yes, there is a massive contradiction, because INEC is a body established by the Constitution, and it's given its powers and its functions by the Constitution. And then there is no law that, if it contradicts the Constitution, I think should be able to stand. So the National Assembly may make laws, but they should make laws consistent with the Constitution. If the INEC is an independent electoral body, you cannot subject its work to the say-so of another body of government, in this case, the National Communications Commission, and even more unbelievably, the National Assembly itself. So the National Assembly wants to be a referee in a match in which it is one side. It is a player, because INEC oversees results, elections into the National Assembly. So for those results to take place, INEC itself has to certify has to go to the National Assembly for the Assembly to certify that it can use electronic transmission of results. It's obviously not a reasonable situation. So I do see a problem legally, constitutionally with this, because there is a case of nemo judex in causa sua. You cannot be a judge in your own cause, and the National Assembly is making itself a judge in its own cause. So that's one fundamental. The independence of institutions in our country is being excavated by these tortuous, contorting decisions. Now, practically speaking, INEC itself has told you and has told the whole country that it can transmit results electronically. And they've given you examples of what they've done. And some people are trying to tell us otherwise. The problem is that Nigeria, from this decision of the National Assembly, it is clear that what we have as what we call democracy is, government by politicians, for politicians, of politicians. The people of Nigeria do not matter to Nigeria's National Assembly or those who voted for this outcome. It's obvious. They're there to perpetuate themselves. They don't want any interference in the possibility of their perpetuating themselves. They want this to be selections, not elections. And some people clearly want to continue to come back to power through rigging elections. That's what this is all about. Nobody was born yesterday. And so it tells you how powerful, how desperate, how greedy the vested interests that are holding the people of this country down are. It's such a shame. This day will live in infamy. Go and mark it down. And this decision that the National Assembly has taken, the consequences of it will reverberate far into the future. And they will find out when it's too late that they shot themselves in the foot.
Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution, subsection 5 of that section, 1999 as amended, speaks volume about the inconsistency of our laws and the bodies of our laws, and how the supremacy of the ground norm, the Nigerian Constitution. And the Constitution also validly gives INEC the powers from section 71 to 79, precisely 78, which talks about the powers of INEC to be able to use its discretion in exercising its guideline in administering Nigerian elections. So the question here is whether or not the Harmonization Committee, when they make their conference, we agree to the condition that is being provided, the proviso that the INEC will have to rely on the NCC and the approval of the National Assembly to give permission to electronically transmit a result. The House did not pass it that way. It says it may, and some people have arguments that should be the word to be used there to concretize that position. But what do you see when these kind of contradictions come? For those who believe that Section 78 will override that Clause 52 and that can be challenged when any case arises, what do you foresee?
Well, I foresee that except the Harmonization Committee, create a clean bill that removes these conditions of the NCC and the National Assembly having to certify something before INEC can play its constitutional role. If that is not done, any legislation that carries this type of fundamental contradiction can be challenged up to the Supreme Court, and it should be challenged. And I believe the Supreme Court ought to rule such a law unconstitutional. There's no question in my mind about it. INEC should be allowed to do its job, period. And it is very clear some people don't want it to do its job. I mean, somebody spoke earlier on. I was deputy governor of the Central Bank, and I supervised the introduction of the bank verification number, where you now have reliable 40 million Nigerians with their data being able to undertake efficient payments transactions. We created the POS and electronic banking. So every aspect of life in this country is moving digital, including in my village. and somebody in the National Assembly is telling me about coverage here, coverage there. Come on, tell that to a 2-month-old baby.
Prof, another issue is that, as far as I know, I'm a journalist and I cover politics, so my expertise may not be in technology, but for the little that I know, as far back as 2010, there is such a technology, even a simple access control into an office where you use your thumb or you use your access card for control. It can store data and information into its server temporarily when there is an outage of connection or network, either Ethernet or internet, in such a way that when it is restored, it then comes back into its memory or functions normally. But the fears of the lawmakers who say, look, from their own side, because the governor of Nasarawa said earlier on that we might have better network in the south than we have in the northern region of the country. And we see the kind of insurgency in the northeastern region of the country. You heard what the Senate president also said, that we cannot have a situation where a country we go to vote is only half of the population that will vote. How do you explain this kind of situation? And politically, of course, the number in the National Assembly, when you have more people to vote, and that's what democracy is all about.
Yes, that's what democracy is all about. There's no question about it, but there's a question of whether the people are voting on behalf of the people or they're voting on behalf of their vested interests. That's the issue. And this is not a matter of, it's not a regional issue. Anybody trying to bring in North and South here, I don't think it's a fair conversation to pursue. There is nowhere in the world, not even in the United States or advanced countries, where electronic coverage is 100% all the time. There are places in the US you'll be traveling to, you may not have good network. It doesn't mean that electronic transmission of results will not be able to work. The INEC itself has assured you that they have different alternative ways as backups, to ensure a fair outcome for everybody in the country, no matter what part of the country you're in. That assurance from the body that the Constitution has given the mandate to see to it that our elections are credible should be enough. We don't need the National Assembly trying to micromanage INEC or trying to subject INEC to yet another body of government. So it obviously it's not a sensible legislation, and it does not promote good faith, even if the numbers may pass it. So we hope that the harmonization will sort this out. As you can see, this is a very unpopular piece of legislation. It's obvious, even to the people who have passed it. And the fact that some people, were conveniently absent, I think tells you something very good. And that is that Nigerians are gradually waking up to their rights. And that people were either dodging doing the right thing, some people, or some people did the wrong thing in defense of their vested interests, regardless of the consequences for public opinion and for democracy itself in Nigeria. So Nigerians are upset about this. And, I think we have not seen the end of this story. I don't think we have.
So Kingsley Mhalu, it's always very good to draw out some of your expertise, whether it's in economics or is in law. Tonight is law, and thank you so much for sharing your views, perhaps for a story that is unending, and perhaps we will see more of it in the coming days. But sincere thanks to you for your time tonight, Professor Kingsley Mhalu.
You're welcome, Sharon. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sharon. Thank you. Just for us to go now, let me get a final thought. Where do we go from here? Just 30 seconds.
Okay, Shaun, I think I'll end by saying any politician who claims to be, a democratic person and have joy in operating under, the norms of constitutional delinquent, I think should be shown the way. And let me paraphrase the word of one of the American founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, who was president from 1801 to 1809. He said, when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. So what that means is that they should know that if they no one do what Nigerians want, Nigerians go show them the way.
Bishop Amakeri, the National Chairman of YPP. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for again at 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'm Sule Kimale. Bye for now.